Welcome back to Zombie Recaps. Today, I will show you an action, adventure, and horror movie from 2013 titled World War Z. Spoilers ahead. Watch out and enjoy. Jerry Lane, Brad Pitt, his wife Karen, Myra Lenoz, and their two daughters, Rachel and Constance, wake up and have breakfast as a family. Jerry informs Constance, the youngest daughter, that he has resigned from his job in order to spend more time with the family. On the news, there is talk of civil unrest and martial law. Later, they are stuck in heavy traffic in Philadelphia when the city is attacked by a horde of zombies. These attackers move very quickly, biting people and turning the bitten very quickly. During the panic stampede, the Lanes are involved in a car accident, and Jerry notices that it takes approximately 12 seconds for a bitten person to change. The Lanes flee the city in a stolen RV as the turmoil unfolds. They make a pit stop near Newark, New Jersey, where Karen stockpiles whatever food she can find, and Jerry is able to locate medication for his eldest daughter, Rachel, who is suffering from a major asthma attack as a result of the shock and stress of what has occurred. When his wife is assaulted by looters, Jerry shoots one of them and Karen is released. Despite holding the rifle over his head, it appears for a brief time that a police officer is about to arrest Jerry, but the officer is merely looking for supplies. Outside of the store, the family seeks refuge in a Newark apartment building. Deputy Secretary General Thierry Mutoni, Fanamakoma, an old friend of Jerry's, telephones the family and informs them that a helicopter is on its way to rescue them, but that it will not arrive until the next morning. The Lanes had taken up residence in a modest apartment shared with a Latino family. One of the kids, Thomas, speaks English and acts as a translator for the Lanes. Jerry is unable to persuade Thomas' family to accompany him, despite believing that the best chance of survival is to keep traveling. The Lanes try to find the roof the next morning by creeping through the mostly abandoned tenement, but the undead detects them and chase them to the roof. On the way, they come across Thomas. When Jerry gets attacked by a swarm of zombies, they splatter blood all over him. When Jerry arrives on the roof, he takes a step towards the edge, ready to jump if the blood on his face causes him to turn. He doesn't, and the family boards the chopper and flees after fending off another swarm of the undead. The Lanes are transported by helicopter to a U.S. Navy aircraft carrier off the coast of New York City, where they will be joined by a large group of other refugees. A team of scientists and military officials on board is evaluating the breadth of the global pandemic. Thierry is waiting for them and has set up bunks for them. Dr. Andrew Fassbach, Alice Gable, a virologist, claims that the plague is a virus whose source must be discovered before a vaccine can be made. Jerry is charged with assisting Fassbach in locating the outbreak source due to his experience as a former UN investigator. Jerry grudgingly agrees to participate after receiving assurances that his family will be secure and is flown to Camp Humphreys, a military installation in South Korea, where an email was received around 11 days previously indicating that the outbreak may have begun there. Jerry's crew gets assaulted by zombies shortly after arriving at the base. Fassbach, terrified and cowardly, is killed when he inadvertently shoots himself after slipping on the C-130 plane's ramp. The gunshot wakes up the zombies in the area, causing Jerry and his companions to flee. Jerry discovers that the zombies are attracted to noise after being rescued by the base's remaining employees. A Korean soldier was out in the field performing research when he was assaulted and turned, according to the soldiers on the base, led by Captain Speak. His conversion took significantly longer than what had previously been seen. The deceased man's body assaulted the base doctor, and both were burned alive. Speak describes to Jerry how one of his men was able to stand in the middle of a swarm of sick people without being assaulted. When Jerry inquires about the soldier's leg injury, the soldier, who walks with a slight limp, explains that something has been hurting him recently. Jerry meets with Hafner David Morse, an ex-CIA operative who was imprisoned for supplying arms to North Korea. He tells Jerry a horrifying story of how the North Korean authorities were able to manage the spread in their country by extracting the teeth of every citizen within a 24-hour period, therefore eliminating the possibility of infection through bites. Haftar instructs Jerry to travel to Jerusalem, where the Israeli Mossad had set up a safe zone soon before the epidemic was formally recognized, hinting that Israel had foreknowledge of what was to occur. Speak's crew uses a fleet of bicycles to get the C-130 refueled and Jerry on board without avoiding making any noise. When Karin tries to reach Jerry, his satellite phone goes off, and the undead attack. The jet is successfully refueled, and Jerry and the C-130 pilot are able to flee. Jerry visits Mossad Commander Jurgen Warmbrunn, Ludi Boken, in Jerusalem, who says that the Mossad had intercepted messages from an army general in India months before, claiming that Indian forces were fighting the Rakshasa, or dead spirits. Warmbrunn also tells how the center of Jerusalem was walled in. The wall is imposing, at least 50 feet high, and refugees, including non-Jews and Muslims, are being taken into the quarantine zone. While Jerry is speaking with Jurgen, a group of Muslim refugees began to sing joyfully in celebration of having found a safe haven to call home. One of the women manages to locate a microphone, and the singing becomes increasingly loud. The zombies outside are drawn to the singing and begin to scale the defensive wall, forming a large pile that eventually manages to enter the city. While running, Jerry discovers that the zombies disregard an elderly man and a malnourished youngster. Sejin, Daniela Curtis, is part of Jerry's escort, is bitten by a zombie. Jerry amputates her hand fast to stop the infection from spreading, counting to 12 until he's certain she won't turn. After Jerry's pilot panics and flies away, Jerry and Sejin make it to the airport and board a Belarus Airways flight. When Jerry asks Theory for the nearest World Health Organization or CDC lab, he is directed to a World Health Organization research center in Cardiff, Wales. A stowaway zombie is released from the cargo hold and assaults a flight attendant while in the air. She goes after the other passengers. After Jerry detonates a grenade to kill the zombies, the jet crashes near Cardiff. Sejin and Jerry are the only people who appear to have survived the accident. Jerry has been impaled by a piece of metal. Sejin locates him, and the two walk to Cardiff, where they discover the World Health Organization facility. The U.S. Navy suspect sees dead after losing communication and deports his family to Nova Scotia. Jerry drops out at the facility's entrance and wakes up 3 days later strapped to a gurney with his wound healed and bandaged. He is able to persuade the facility's staff that he is there for a specific purpose, and the men monitoring him dial his wife's satellite phone. When Theory picks up the phone, he informs Jerry that his family was designated as non-essential employees and was transferred to a land-based institution. Jerry is irritated, but Theory is able to confirm Jerry's identity to the skeptical World Health Organization personnel. Since the old man and the sickly boy in Jerusalem were ignored, as well as a homeless wino Jerry briefly witnessed in Newark, who was bypassed by the zombies, and the story the soldier with a limp told about the zombies ignoring him. Jerry proposes to the skeptical scientists that the infected do not bite people who are seriously injured or already terminally ill, because they would be unsuitable as warders. To test his theory, he agrees to inject himself with a fatal yet curable disease. However, after a doctor inadvertently infected himself, the wing of the facility where the germs are held was overrun by zombies. Regardless, Jerry proceeds to obtain a pathogen in Sejin, and one of the World Health Organization doctors accompany him as support. Jerry finally makes it to the pathogen vault after fighting his way past the undead. Jerry goes inside and fills a small box with pathogen vials from 2 different cupboards. The scientists are filming him and observing that the left cabinet contains diseases that are fatal and incurable. As Jerry prepares to depart, he notices one of the undead physicians standing outside. He chooses to inject himself to see if his idea will work when he is cornered and lacks a proper weapon. He hands the scientists a message that reads, "Tell my family I love them," and then selects a vial from the box at random. Jerry pauses for a moment before opening the vault door. Jerry is allowed to go away, past a horde of zombies who have inhabited the facility, after the former doctor ignores him. Everyone rejoices at his theory's success when he returns to the safe area of the institution, and the physicians cure him of the infection. Jerry returns to his family in Freeport, Nova Scotia, in a safe zone. The development of a vaccine produced from lethal viruses that can serve as camouflage for troops fighting the infected. Airdrops are used to distribute the diseased to all corners of the globe. Human counteroffensives against the undead begin, and hope returns. With military and civilian force, Russia has been particularly successful in ending the pandemic. Jerry makes the following observation. This isn't the conclusion of the story. That's not even closed. That is all for today. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you can watch more videos like this. Thanks for watching.